have been asking for my opinion on how to increase your height. Coincidentally, there's this guy called Austin Vane who made a video about this topic. I'm going to review his video today, and then I'll give you my thoughts on the topic. It's a looks maxing channel. He makes videos about how to improve your looks, and supposedly you can also improve your height. We'll see.
If you don't...
Faggot nigger, you are completely right. Trump pretty much has this in the back. Kamala is literally dumb.
Don't know me from the ages of about 17 to
If you don't know me
18, I grew from about 5'9" to about 6'4". So in only
17 to 18, that's exactly when I grew. That's pretty typical, at least today. I remember posting a
most men reach their full adult height at around 18 to 20. Men usually grow for a longer period of time than women. Women, I think, usually reach their full adult height when they're around 16. And men, typically, they don't reach full adult height until they're between 18 and 20. I actually didn't stop growing until I was 23. That's when I finally stopped growing. But in terms of making sure you reach your maximum height, the two most important things are calories and protein. So if you're in a caloric deficit and if you're eating a low protein diet, that's going to stunt your growth.
Photo of myself when I was 18, and somebody commented that I grew a lot. I never really cared about my height or anything, but I did, of course, realize that I must have grown then in the last year. That's typically when people grow nowadays. Of course, you can also grow when you're 14, 15 a lot, but 16, 17, 18 is pretty typical.
I grew a lot throughout high school. I had one really crazy growth spurt where I had to go up 2 shoe sizes within a period of a month.
Nothing strange about it.
about a year, I had a pretty big growth spurt that a lot of people were kind of striving for, and a lot of this kind of came down to some accidental practices that I was doing. So today's video is going to be all about my story time. So I'm just going to go into depth. It's going to be a more chill video than my more intense high growth videos. So guys, both my parents are about 5'9", and ever since I was a baby, the doctor always said I'd be about 6 feet tall. So this means that I was able to cap out as much as possible to where now I'm actually 6'5". So maybe you can learn a thing.
If your parents are 5'9",
you can't predict anybody's height based on what they look like as a baby.
or whatever, then it doesn't mean that you're going to be the same height or a bit taller or a bit shorter. It means that maybe it's their genetics, maybe they were also not fed the right foods as children. Whatever the case, it's absolutely possible to still have the genes inside of you, obviously, from your ancestors. Could be your grandpa, could be your great-grandfather, could be somebody 6 generations behind.
Riley, don't need to tell you.
It doesn't matter. If the gene is there, you have the
I
potential.
just buy whatever I want.
And that's probably what he means by maxing out. I don't know.
Number 2 about how to optimize your own high growth potential in this video. Let's go. Growing up, I never cared about height growth in the slightest bit. My brother was always the tall one. He was always the handsome, attractive one. I never really cared. Whenever I was a kid, man, I was much more obsessed with basketball than anything.
Sego donated $2. Come on, Richard, give the Palestinians this.
I would shoot hoops pretty much all day. And now even in basketball, man, I never won.
It's not really normal to think about those kind of topics. That's why I also never thought about it. It's just when you're confronted with the media and everybody around you talking about this topic, then you start caring about it a lot. Obviously, humans in nature never think about it.
To have size. I never wanted to be that big guy. I was always actually the 3-point shooter. I was never even wanting to be tall because I would just be behind the 3-point line shooting my shots. And now whenever I played basketball, I'll play basketball for about 8 hours a day, and I would not really eat much food. So I feel like overall...
That's of course horrible. To grow and to reach your potential, you need to eat a lot of food, especially when you're growing. Of course, it already matters when you're a baby, your health. If you have the genetics of a population which isn't tall overall, such as people from Laos, then you will reach the maximum that you could possibly reach in your lifetime. Of course, if you would be well nourished and your children would be and so on, then eventually they would become taller again. The genes that you have now is because of past famine. Whatever the case, certain populations will only be able to reach a certain height in their lifetime. You can always, of course, improve your health, height, looks, everything with the future generation.
Height is extremely heritable. It's pretty much genetically predetermined. It's only malnutrition that's going to prevent you from growing, taller. But, the idea that you can somehow cheat your genes to grow taller, that's just bullshit.
And the reason children would be and so on, then eventually certain populations will only be able to get.
This is why whenever I was 16, 17, I still looked like a 12-year-old. Like I still did not hit puberty in the slightest. I had no facial hair. Overall, I looked like a baby. Now I played basketball up until...
People who do sports a lot and eat a bunch of processed carbohydrates or generally a carbohydrate-based diet will develop very slowly or not at all in some cases.
No, that is not true.
This is if they never change it.
Till the age of about 17. And whenever I was 17, I realized something, man. I was playing AAU, which is a competitive league in the States, and I realized I'm not going to make it to D1 college. Like, I'm not going to play professionally, so I need to cut this basketball stuff, and I need to find something else. And at the time, my brother was actually the one getting obsessed with self-improvement, self-development, and so he actually forced me to start exercising. He forced me to start drinking raw milk. And now, obviously, you guys...
Wow, yeah, and that's probably...
Yeah, raw milk for the bovine tuberculosis.
The main reason why he grew. I don't know what else he will say, but raw milk is very good for growth. You can argue if it's actually healthy.
Raw milk does not make you grow any taller.
To drink a lot of raw milk because of the growth hormones, but as far as your body getting bigger and taller, it's going to help because the raw milk from cows especially, which is, I assume, what he drank, most people drink cow's milk, is made to create... a huge cow. It's for the baby cow to grow into this huge cow, which is why there's a lot of growth hormones inside. That at the same time is also going to age you a lot more. Of course, ideally, if you would be eating raw meat, drinking blood, eating organs, and you would produce them yourself as much as your body will produce, and then you would grow to your potential. It's possible that because of the raw milk, which is an unnatural food for humans, it's milk for cows. There's no...
Sengoku don't eat tellers. Cheat days are like post-nut clarity with a fat chick. Feels great while you're indulging, but once it's over, you...
Arguing that. It could, of course, make you grow taller than you're supposed to, which could create an elongated face. In some cases, in Keith's case, I don't think so. I can't really tell because of the hair. You don't really want to grow beyond your potential. That can never end well. But to reach your potential nowadays, seeing as most people don't have access to any good food, raw milk is more or less the only option for a lot of people out there to get actual raw food. And most people...
No. Bootycom don't eat tellers. We've seen this, but maybe could watch.
People are not afraid to drink raw milk compared to eating raw meat, which is why raw milk is probably the best food which the general population still consumes. A lot of people who are not into raw meat at all still drink raw milk. Of course, the actual general slave population doesn't drink raw milk.
No, like, it's not like a forced thing. It's just like whenever it's your older brother, he tells you to do something, you're just like, okay,
Of course, you look up to your family members, especially your brother, father. That's normal.
I'll do this. Like, you're the older brother, you're the big boss. I'll listen to you. And so before anything else, he gets me hooked on raw milk. And so this was actually before I turned 17. I was still playing basketball at the time, but I started drinking a gallon of raw milk every
Great brother. You're lucky, you could say.
single day.
Yeah, that is just absolutely retarded.
Just from this farm, it was grass-fed, completely organic, completely natural. If you look into raw milk, some people...
As I said, you can't really call milk from a different animal natural, but I'm not saying that you shouldn't be consuming raw dairy, seeing as most people don't have access to anything else. If you don't have access to raw organs, blood, and so on, then drinking raw milk or consuming any kind of raw dairy is great. Compared to what most people eat today, it's amazing. But of course, still, it is full of these growth hormones, which are going to age you, especially when you eat that stuff after puberty. again, I can understand why during puberty you would consume a lot of raw milk and raw dairy in general. I totally get it, just because good food is not available today. But if you consume it afterwards, I've seen some pretty horrible physiques. Usually the raw milk is going to create a gut. I've seen this on a lot of people who eat healthy, who even eat a lot of raw meat, but the raw milk destroys their physique long term. If anything, I would recommend doing it through puberty and now and then for hydration, but not every day.
We'll say it's dangerous. I'm going to be quite honest. I do not care what the research says. I don't care if you think it's dangerous. I'm not telling you to drink it. I'm literally...
The only reason people started pasteurizing milk and cooking food in general is because the meat quality and the milk quality got worse because of what the animals were fed.
No, people started pasteurizing milk because of bovine tuberculosis. That's why people were getting tuberculosis and other infections from consuming raw dairy, so they made it the law to pasteurize dairy.
And everything else that's done to them, which I won't get into on YouTube. And because of this, people got food poisoning. And you can easily neutralize and destroy the toxins by cooking and pasteurizing food. That's it. There's nothing else to it. If you have raw milk from a healthy cow, goat, sheep, whatever, then how could you get sick?
Yeah, when he says that, it's kind of retarded, because there's no way of ensuring that a cow is not going to have something like tuberculosis. It's like, oh, well, if you have unprotected sex with somebody who doesn't have STDs, then you're not going to get an STD. Well, yeah, if they don't have an STD, but how are you going to know any sexual partner, doesn't have HIV or herpes or anything like that? There's no way to know. That's why you wear a condom. That's also why we pasteurize milk.
It's impossible, because there's nothing in there that could make you sick. There's no toxins whatsoever.
Saying exactly what I did. Do everything at your own risk, but raw milk, here's the dealio, man. Whenever you do not cook the milk, it still contains all of the enzymes to actually digest the milk so that your body can actually absorb it. But when you cook it, you cook out...
Yes and no. There is lactase in the raw milk, which is probably what he's talking about for digestion. But that's not actually the problem. The biggest problem with dairy products in general is casein. That's what causes this allergic reaction. It's a misconception.
Ugh. So casein does seem to cause an autoimmune response. And again, it appears like it triggers type 1 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes may actually be caused from an autoimmune reaction to casein. But on top of that, yeah, most people are lactose intolerant. I think like 70% of the human population is lactose intolerant.
Conception that it's the lactose, which everybody always talks about.
All the live enzymes, so your body cannot properly digest it the way it's supposed to. That's why everybody's lactose intolerant, because no one really produces lactose.
It is true that it is, of course, going to be a lot easier to digest it, but people still will get problems with raw milk simply because of the casein alone. Again, it's milk for cows. Of course you would. It would be weird if you wouldn't get problems.
Lactase is supposed to naturally be in the milk. So fun fact of the day, most people cannot handle milk, like 89% of the population, because it's cooked. If it's raw, it's actually the way it's intended to be. Now,
they don't.
If it comes from a sick cow, obviously you're going to get...
It also depends a lot on if you kept drinking milk after you were breastfed, as in cows, goats, sheep milk, if you grew up on a farm. Because if you did, then you will tolerate it your whole life if you didn't have a break in between. It was the same for me. I always drank milk my whole life.
Yeah, so no. You develop lactose intolerance even if you keep drinking dairy.
Pasteurized milk, but I never had any problems, as far as I remember. Then again, do you even think of stuff like that as a child? Not really. When I had a break later on and started drinking raw milk afterwards, depending on what source it was from, but I could never 100% tolerate it. I only drank it now and then, but I haven't tried raw milk in years now.
is sick. So it needs to be a healthy grass-fed cow in order to drink the raw milk. Once again, I'm not telling you to do it. This is what I did. And now coming from that very underweight, malnourished...
It's weird to talk so highly of it, but then say that you don't actually recommend it. You are basically recommending it. Nothing wrong with that. Overall, seeing as most people are not going to start eating raw liver, it is a good recommendation, because even an absolutely slave-minded guy is going to think, raw milk, that sounds kind of yummy, I should try it.
Drinking that gallon of raw milk. Now this gives you the full strength of a baby cow. So at this point, little 16, 17-year-old Austin, who has not hit puberty yet, is taking a gallon of raw...
That's also the thing, you hadn't hit puberty yet, or at least fully, which is why exactly when you started drinking the milk, which could have also triggered it, by the way, because of the growth hormones, your body knew that it's time to grow. If you would have hit puberty when you were 13 and you would have done...
If the guy's drinking a gallon of whole milk per day, and yeah, it sounds like it's whole milk. That's just a lot of calories. He was saying he was doing basketball 8 hours a day. I don't even know how the fuck he do that when he was in school. That sounds like bullshit. And he was barely eating. That could have delayed puberty, but if he started drinking a gallon of raw whole milk per day, that's a lot of calories. And I'm assuming he's also eating other food alongside that, so just eating enough may have just allowed him to grow.
Done it now, then not much would have happened. Most likely nothing.
raw cow's milk intended for a baby cow. So automatically my growth hormone starts kicking off, my testosterone starts kicking off. So very soon my puberty starts kicking in whenever I'm 17-ish. Now I'm still drinking a gallon of the raw milk at this point, and now my brother forces me to go outside.
A gallon of raw milk. That explains that he was getting actual raw nutrients for the first time in his life, most likely.
And start exercising. So what we did was calisthenics every single day for a year. And we actually started with cold.
Calisthenics are not as stressful for the body, not compared to going to the gym and lifting man-made metal for no reason. This is also done for no reason. It doesn't look as stupid as somebody lifting dumbbells up and down. Of course, it's still stressful for the body. It's counterintuitive. It's going to slow down any growing, seeing as your body will use the hormones for your muscles to grow, and the protein will be used to repair your muscles and so on. That's generally biochemically what the nutrients will be used for, more so than for growing. But again, nothing compared to squatting, benching, deadlifting especially. It's a lot closer to what you would do in nature, in the sense that you would be only using your body weight, whatever you would be doing. Sometime you may have to climb a place, and then you would of course only pull yourself up with your body weight. You wouldn't attach extra man-made metal to yourself in that sense. Of course, in general, nobody is gonna, without the actual need, go and pull themselves up for no reason.
Therapy. So we'd be outside. It's like 0 degrees Fahrenheit outside. We're working out shirtless. So this is the cold therapy. We're doing pull-ups until failure. We're doing bodyweight squats. We're doing push-ups until failure. We're doing sprints, which has been scientifically proven.
Sprints, but again, not jogging, not marathon running, which is incredibly catabolic and exhausting for the body. It's insanely stressful, and as we can see, it usually leads to a heart attack.
Proven to boost HGH by up to 2,000%.
It sounded like he said HGH?
No, it does not boost HGH by 2,000%. All these people who claim like certain foods or certain exercises or diets or like intermittent fasting, it boosts your human growth hormone. It doesn't. You only see a transient effect in the production of some of these hormones. In order to get a benefit from some of these hormones, like testosterone, for instance, you literally have to double your production to actually get a performance enhancing benefit. So if you go from, a normal testosterone level of 500, let's say 500 nanograms per deciliter, in order to get an actual performance enhancing benefit, you'd have to double that hormone. So if you double it to 1,000, Now you're going to actually build more muscle. It's going to be easier for you to be leaner, have like more body weight loss, improve your body composition. If you increase your testosterone though by like, I don't know, some weird diet, it's only going to be a transient effect. So you get a normal peak at the beginning of the day, but then it dips down. If you take like TRT or testosterone, for performance enhancement, it stays high. That's where you get that big benefit. Same with growth hormone. If you do something like eat certain foods or train a certain way or do intermittent fasting, you might get a slightly higher peak, but it dips down.
Has Farid ever explained what his deal is with man-made objects? Also, I'm having a lot of difficulty losing weight despite using chronometer.
There's two things that could be happening if you're seeing a stall. Yeah, so like I said, there's nothing you can do to elevate your hormones and get like a 2,000% increase in growth hormone. That's just total bullshit. You might see a slight increase in the peak of those hormones, but they dip down. If you want to increase your growth hormone production, the only thing you can really do is inject growth hormone, which I don't recommend. That way you increase the total level of the hormone and it stays higher. And that's the important thing. It has to stay elevated.
GH, you mean? Human growth hormone? He doesn't understand this. The reason the growth hormones are boosted, so to speak, they are needed to repair the damage of the stress. You do understand that, right? It's not as if you will ever use these growth hormones for your height. They are literally only released for the muscles.
Growth hormone is highly related to growth and height. Growth hormone does increase when you're getting taller. And if you have a deficiency in that hormone, it's going to cause stunted growth. That's actually why one of the treatments for stunted growth is growth hormone treatment. And it's especially important that you inject the growth hormone before you sleep. That's where you're going to get the most benefit with growth hormone treatment for height. And if you're an adult, by the way, like if you're 30 and you're 5'2", taking growth hormone isn't going to make you grow any taller. If you have stunted growth when you're in a growth phase, so when you're like 14, let's say, and you have stunted growth, and by stunted growth, that means you're 2 standard deviations below the norm for your height. So you're below the 95th percentile for height. Then taking growth hormone treatment will increase your growth. Typically, it's not as much as you'd like it to be. I think normally you can add like maybe 2-3 inches to your height with that sort of treatment. So, being 5'4", 5'5", that's better than being 5'2". But yeah, what this guy is saying is just fucking stupid. If you have stunted growth, you're not going to grow taller by doing some stupid diet or some type of exercise program. Assuming you're eating normally, you're sleeping normally, everything like that, if you have stunted growth, you're going to have to take like hormone treatment. There's no special diet or exercise that you can do. Frieza, donate $2, react to this.
That's it. It's the same with testosterone after a workout. The testosterone rises and is used for protein synthesis. It's not as if the testosterone rises and then it's used for something else. That's exactly why you feel lethargic, you want to sleep 12 hours a day, and why you can't please your girlfriend. Because
exercise does not make you lethargic and sleep 12 hours a day.
You use the testosterone for something else, and now you have lower testosterone. It's not as if you use it up and then you create more. Think about it this way, you get food poisoning and your body produces white blood cells to neutralize the toxins. Does it mean that you have more white blood cells now because you release them. No, you have less. And you need a lot of nutrients to create new ones again for when you get sick the next time. It's the same with growth hormones and testosterone.
It is not the same with growth hormone and testosterone.
They are never used.
So this makes absolutely no sense because post-exercise, your testosterone dips down. So if this was your body's stress response, to deal with damage, you would see a sharp increase in testosterone or growth hormone after exercise. You don't. You actually see a dip in testosterone very sharply after exercise.
For something else. And it's a lot of work for the body to create new ones. Outside of the body, an example would be you buying orange juice for your thirst. You use up half of the orange juice. You now have half left in the cup. Does it mean that you have more orange juice? No, there's literally only half left and you need new oranges to get new.
Yeah, that analogy made no sense. I don't know what drinking orange juice has to do with hormone production.
Orange juice. It may sound like an obvious example, but people don't get this. People don't understand that it's the same in the body. You only use it up. And you only use it up for specifically what you're doing. You can't produce growth hormones for your muscles, but then also grow in height. They are not used for your height. Okay, now you must understand it.
So we were doing this 5-6 days a week, pretty much this entire year. I was drinking a gallon of raw cow's milk every single day.
And that's exactly why you grew. It's absolutely obvious.
At this point, I started intermittent fasting as well to boost HGH. By the way, guys, everything I did in this, it was also...
Intermittent fasting does not boost HGH.
Intermittent fasting doesn't boost your growth hormones. That's exactly what I was talking about. It has been proven in several studies that the growth hormones are released because you're starving. That's what happens.
Yeah, so you might be able to increase the height of the peak, but the area under the curve doesn't actually increase.
Happens when there's famine, seeing as your body is trying to survive. Again, that's why they are produced.
Do you think Sverige works out in secret? No. You can see what he looks like. Does this look like a guy who's working out and lifting weights? No. He looks skinnier than ever. He doesn't do jack shit other than jerk off to porn all day.
Survive. Again, that's why they are produced. They are not produced and then used for something else. It's purely a survival mechanism. It's horrible for you. You should never fast. Fast?
What backpack do I wear?
It's another word for starving. It's exactly the same. It's simply used to essentially manipulate your mind to believe that it's something else, even though what's the difference? There's no difference whatsoever. Human beings and all animals don't starve on purpose. Maybe he won't mention how long he was doing it for, because if you starve for 12 hours a day, it's not really going to make a difference if you drink a gallon of raw milk a day. It's going to make a difference if you actually undereat, and especially if you eat a carbohydrate-rich diet, then you're actually going to possibly stunt your growth. You could actually become shorter.
Carbohydrates do not stunt your growth.
And absolutely, for sure, not reach your potential.
Proven to boost HGH. At this point, my passion for basketball went into my passion for health. So my new obsession was becoming as healthy as possible. So it was not even about body optimization in terms of aesthetics. It was not about anything, man. It was about being as healthy as possible.
What population actually has the highest average height? I think there's a Nordic country that has a high average height, and there's a country in Africa. Netherlands, Montenegro, Denmark, Norway, Serbia, Germany, Iceland, Montenegro. Where is that? It's next to Serbia. That's actually surprising. Huh. It's mostly white majority countries. Shortest average height: Indonesia, Bolivia, Philippines, Vietnam, Cambodia, Nepal, Ecuador, Peru. Indonesia has the shortest average height. Would have thought like China or Japan would be on the list, but I guess not. Cambodia kind of makes sense. Surprised Ecuador. Sri Lanka sort of makes sense. Nigeria is kind of surprising. Guess sort of not, because, you know, they probably have a lot of food insecurity. Dodo donated $2.
Now, in addition to this, I would take a lot of vitamin D on a daily basis. And I would also take it with the K2 so that it would absorb properly. On the low days, I'd have like...
I wonder what exactly he was taking.
Vitamin K2 and vitamin D do not promote height growth. Vitamin K2 is not... It's not really a beneficial supplement. You can just not take it. Vitamin D is important. Most people should be taking, well, I would say everybody should be taking a vitamin D supplement, but especially if you're darker skinned. But it doesn't actually affect height. Vitamin D, calcium, these things are important for bone mineral density, but it doesn't actually improve height.
Taking, but vitamins D and K2 are very important for your bones and of course also your growth if you want to have a...
No, it doesn't affect height. Obviously bone mineral density is important, but it doesn't actually affect height.
Strong bones, absolutely.
Like again, the three factors that are going, well, I should say four, but the three modifiable factors that are going to affect height are going to be your total caloric intake, your protein intake, and sleep. Those are the three factors that are modifiable that are actually going to impact height. Like, you could maybe add in a fourth factor, stress. If you're highly, highly stressed, that might also prevent growth. So there are kids that are training in gymnastics, and sometimes like some Olympic sports, so wrestling, track and field, they're doing such an extreme amount of exercise that it stunts their growth. So you could say four. Those are the only four modifiable factors that are going to impact your height. Everything else, like your genetics, you obviously can't modify that, at least yet, who your parents are. But everything else is bullshit. Supplementing vitamin D is important for bone mineral density and shit, but it's not going to actually impact your height.
Absolutely, there's no way around it. It's what will bind the minerals to the bones. If not, you will have weak bones.
5,000 a day. On the high days, I'd have like 50,000 a day. Your body is capable of absorbing a lot more vitamin D than what the government will tell you. And once again, I'm not telling you to do anything in this video. Do everything at your own risk. This is what I did. But there's also a philosophy when I was 17.
If you want to get vitamins D, K2, and of course A, also incredibly important for growth, naturally, then you should eat a lot of liver, a brain, spleen also.
No, do not eat those things.
In general, for your health anyway. Mostly organs, and you can also pop in some eggs from good quality sources, always, all food anyway. Yeah, raw milk also has these vitamins, just in lower amounts.
I wanted to grow more muscles. I wanted to grow bigger overall. And me and my brother came to the conclusion that the male lion is like always sleeping.
And just enjoy the sunshine. Lions are famed for sleeping 20, 22 hours a day. Each time I come over here.
They're cats. Cats sleep all day because they're cats.
I call his name.
But he's so muscular, like he's so big. So me and my brother both came to this conclusion. That's get it.
Like, as far as I understand, gorillas don't sleep all day. They actually spend most of their day just eating. And they're huge. Like, they're animals. I don't know why you'd care about what animals do.
They are like this naturally, the same way humans have a natural physique. they don't need to do anything for that. It's just how nature created them. They eat raw meat, that's it. It's just literally how they look like in nature. The same way gorillas look the way they look. They don't need to do anything about it. And when you look at especially African tribes, especially the ones from a while ago, the ones today are not really living naturally anymore. Very few are. Then you can see how their physiques are. And that's exactly how humans are supposed to look like. We are not supposed to look like so-called athletic people, but
Right, we're supposed to look like weak, frail little children like you. This is the natural way humans are supposed to look. Humans in nature watch porn all day and masturbate, and they don't exercise or walk around or even lift anything. So this is how the natural human body is supposed to look. All of you gym slaves who are lifting weights so that you can get bigger and stronger, this is actually unnatural and you are a slave.
Why does Faria say vitamins with a W? Vitamins.
Well, he's from Latvia, and I don't think they have a V sound in their language, so he always pronounces V's as W's. Thanks for the donation, Untitled. Kid Boo donated $2. Trump is savage. Let me see.
not really living naturally anymore. Very few are. Then you can see how their physiques are. And that's exactly how humans are supposed to look. Builders, obviously, none of that. This is brainwashing from the media.
Big as possible. You need to sleep as much as possible. So I made it a point. When I was 17, man, I was doing online school.
Sleep in general is very important. If you don't get enough sleep, it could, of course, keep you shorter, for sure. Because not enough sleep means more stress, and more stress means less growing, always. Which also means that exercise.
You produce a large amount of growth hormone in your sleep. That's one of the reasons why sleep is so important. If you're missing out on sleep, you're missing out on those important growth hormones that will make you grow taller. And on top of that, yeah, it also generates a ton of stress and everything.
So of course means less growing. Who knows if he couldn't have become even taller if he didn't do the calisthenics. But again, he wasn't going to the gym, lifting super heavy.
I did not have to wake up super early just because I was on top of my stuff. Like I made sure it was done. So I would sleep like 9-10 hours every single night. I was completely optimizing my sleep. And I told myself, I'm a lion. Like I'm going to maximize my sleep no matter what. And I've slept like a baby, man, for years. And I think this is one of the biggest factors to how I grew taller. You talk to anyone about the growth spurt, about whenever they grew taller. A lot of times, man, they were sleeping like crazy. Now, in addition to the raw milk, man, like I said, I was becoming...
In sleep, all of the repairing happens, which had to happen in his case because he was stressing his body with the exercise. That wasn't actually helping him. His body was focusing on his muscles, which is counterproductive, seeing as he wanted to become taller.
Obsessed with health. I wanted to become as healthy as possible. So I started eating as much healthy food at the time as I thought possible. So I would only eat wild-caught fish.
Oh, wow. There you go. That's also it, 100%.
Grass-fed steaks, pasture-raised eggs, grass-fed butter.
Yes. This is so awesome. He doesn't even need to...
Yeah, none of that will help you grow taller. The only thing that matters is you're getting in adequate nutrition.
Go on.
Dodo donates.
We know exactly why he reached his potential. It's just so obvious.
Lots of organic, raw nuts. Like everything I ate.
The nuts wouldn't help you, by the way, but the rest really good.
Was the healthiest thing that you could possibly get. And I had a copious amount of saturated fats as well. I was eating...
Exactly. Yeah.
Saturated fat does not make you grow taller.
Yeah, you did almost everything right. As far as food goes, you pretty much did everything right.
Tons and tons of calories, guys, but my body was able to handle it because I was growing so much. If you're not growing, like if you're not growing taller, you cannot have like 4,000 calories a day, which is basically what I was doing. Like I'd have like 2,500 calories a day from the milk, then I'd have an additional 15 to 2,500 calories a day just from all this other healthy stuff. And getting all these vitamins, getting all these nutrients, proteins, it was just completely capping my body to where like it has no choice but to grow and become as big and tall as possible. So it was like that, man, for like a year, and then all of a sudden I noticed I was quite tall. I was like 6'4", and everywhere I go, people are like, "Oh my gosh, Austin, you're so tall now." And to this day, it is still the most annoying question to me whenever people ask, "Oh, how tall are you?" "Wow, you're so tall." All due respect, I think it's quite annoying. I mean, I'm tall. Why does it matter the specific height? Just accept the fact that I'm tall. Let it go. But yeah, and then 18, 19, I started getting a lot more into women, female nature. So instead of focusing on health, my obsession turned into fitness and getting as aesthetic as possible. So then I stopped trying to be as healthy
Women care about your face, and I'm sure that you know that, at least deep down.
as possible. I started doing some crazy bulks with all these Pop-Tarts and pizza. And I got freaking jacked, man, for the first time.
Oh, the long hair looked a million times better. Wow, long hair always looks better, but yeah, 100%.
At like 18. So that's my story, man. This is what worked for me. I was obsessed with optimizing my health, and it just so happened to be at the perfect time at the start of my puberty. And so it all coincided together perfectly.
Well, that was nice and retarded. Am I going to watch the Olympics?